Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who as well. Peace and salutations to elect. My name is Ainan. That's how this video is. Trump warns Tehran to abandon nuke ambitions or face action. Right. And basically, this is the least of the flock drawing them out. They're terrified and scared, and that is Babylon the Great, America, right? They don't want what's to come, but their little brother Israel is pushing for this war for their own ambitions, of greater Israel, you know. So Jeremiah 50, and this is pursuant to prophecy. First of all, let me grab this. Jeremiah 28:8. It says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. So this is nothing new, right? The prophets of old and prophets that came before me, and now, I consider myself a prophet of the Lord, right? And all the men, predominantly the men of GMS, of Great Millstone, from an elder apostle on down, right? This is who the Lord is dealing with, and we are prophesying the downfall of America, the oppressors that have taken us into slavery and has ruled us with an iron fist. We're also prophesying the judgment of our own people that don't want to hearken to the new song, which is this message going out, right? Of what? The salvation, the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai, right? We're also prophesying to nations that what? They also too will serve a bondage of slavery because they had a part in the destruction of the Israelites, right? And a part of taking down us and taking us away from our heritage, the book and everything. And that goes into Psalms, the 83rd chapter, where they are confederate against thee, right? And even these last times, we understand that this kingdom, this beast system is totally divided because the icons, the dark images, right, that Russia and Iran has been showing, is against that covenant that they made, and I'll grab that real quick. This is Psalms 83. Psalms 83, saying is mad today, right? Psalms 83, verse 1. It says, keep not thou silence, O Yahweh, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. The enemies of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, are all other nations, right? Because all other nations came against the Israelites, and predominantly Esau, Edom. Esau, Edom is the only nation prophesying about to be utterly and completely obliterated, right, from existence, right, when the new kingdom comes, which it will come, right, and this kingdom is falling shortly, right? I'm talking about the kingdom of Babylon the Great and their vassal states. So verse 2 says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together one consent, they are confederate against thee, right? And these devils, these nations, right, these heathen, they're afraid. Let me grab that. They're afraid of us because we basically beat their ass, many wars in time past, and we ruled over them, and all of that. So now they're afraid because we're back, and it's prophesied in the scriptures that we will gain our power and our might again and put those devils back on their foot, So I can find this real quick. All right, Slack, let me find this because I want to bring it out. So this is Isaiah 14, where, yeah. I'm sorry, Isaiah 19. All right, let me grab that, Isaiah 19. And 17. And then I'll get to this video because they're afraid of also their enemies rising up against them. They don't want Iran to have this nuclear missile. Isaiah 19 and 17, right? So this is pretty much piggybacking off what I read in Jeremiah 28 and verse 8, being that the prophets are prophesying of the downfall the nations, right, out of the Bible, right, because it's all written there. This is the judgment that the Lord has set forth against the world, right? Isaiah 19 and 17 says, "In the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt." Egypt is modern day Babylon the Great, which is America. America is ruling the world currently, right? They have all the power. It says, "In the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt," and Judah just represents the Israelites. And in this time, the elect of Israel, right, the prophets of the Lord, those that have woken up to the truth and hold the message within themselves that's against, Esau, Edom, and the nations. It says, "In the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. Everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself because of the counsel of the Lord Yahweh of hosts, which he have determined against it," right? And these devils are, afraid, and they're trying to, basically make a plan to come against the Lord's people, you know. So yeah, let me get some of this video. So Iran, it says Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Trump warns Tehran to abandon nuclear ambition. Right, and let me grab this Jeremiah 50, because this is the Israelis, right? The Israelis, the ones that run the world, right? Which is this information is now coming out that they run the world and they control everything, or that, in their eyes, so far they only can know that basically the Jews run the world, and they relate that to Israel, right? But that's a hub of the banking elites, right? The banking elites, they run Israel, and they are the Amalekites, which are Israelis, right? Oh no, I got a knock at the door. Thank you, boss. There you go. So Jeremiah 50 and 45. Is it? It says, "Therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, that he have taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he have proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. It says, Surely at least the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them." See, this is the problem. At least the flock is talking about the Israelis, the 1948ers, right? The state of Israel was set up in 1948. And obviously they're controlling America, right? Trump's cabinet is full of these Jewish lobbyists, right? And you also have this guy, Benjamin Netanyahu, second trip to America to basically say, they're ready to move on Iran or whatever. Are you with me? And Trump is basically pushing for that. And now he's trying to do the art of the deal. This his whole thing, peace and safety, trying to stabilize everything, but it's not happening. And they're afraid. So let's play a little bit of this.
Iran wants to deal with us, but they don't know how. They really don't know how. Iran has to get rid of the concept of a nuclear weapon. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. I want them to be a rich, great nation. The only thing is, one thing, simple. It's really simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And if we have to do something very harsh, we'll do it. And I'm not doing it for us. I'm doing it for the world. And these are radicalized people, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Does that include a potential strike on Iranian nuclear facilities?
Of course it does.
All right, so basically, the scriptures prophesy that Iran will have a nuclear weapon, right? This is, and this is what they're afraid of. This is chapter 15 of Second Ezra, and we're going to start at 28. It says, "Behold, in horrible vision, and appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble." Right, and you have multiple videos coming out now regarding Iran and their underground bunkers full to the brim of missiles. Right, they've been enriching Ukraine uranium for a long time now, and I wouldn't be surprised if they already had that nuclear missile or multiple nuclear missiles. And this is what Israel basically, and you will say the bank are afraid of, because they're trying to expand their hub, and one of their hubs is Israel, right? Because the scriptures say what in Psalms 49 and 11, which is a vain thought, being how the nations and the people around the world hate them. This is Psalms 49 and 11. It says, That their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. So they wanted to be here for a very long time, but that's not the case according to scripture. But nonetheless, they're still trying to push for this, this greater Israel, this 2030 agenda where they, get digital and all of that. And it's all prophesied in the scriptures, but it'll come to naught, right? And that's prophesied in Job, right? So anyway, continuing. Sorry, 28 again. It says, Behold, in horrible vision and appearance thereof from the east. Where's the east? Right now we're in the what? The west. When they talk on the news, they say, well, the west wants this or the west wants that, and they relate it to what? America, right? So now we're talking about the east. So what's over there in the east? Russia, China, Iran, right? It says, Behold, in horrible vision and appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia, right? This is the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, right? It says, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. So they're going to war. This is their army, their missiles. And once again, they have a whole bunch of bunkers just full of missiles, nice carpets in there regarding America and Israel. It says, and that's relating too, because in these bunkers, right on the floor, they have painted the American flag and the Israeli flag. So they know who their targets are, basically. And right here in the scriptures, it's saying that. It says, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. So people are fearing and trembling. People are saying you don't want to go to war with Iran. There's no conventional way to go to war with Iran. The only way to go to Iran is to nuke them, right? Because you can't go in with soldiers, right? Because they can destroy straits of, both the straits to Mass, the other one, where oil travels and different things. It says also the Carmenians, goes into Iran. Raging and wrath shall go forth as the wild boar. So, we're talking about a group of people. We got the Iranians, Ishmael, we got the Palestinians, right? That whole group of area over there. It says also the Carmenians raging in wrath. That's why we got like the Houthi, Yemens and all of that, right? It says also the Carmenians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. Even Trump related them to, a wild, individual, just fierce type, So he's afraid. It says, and shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. The Assyrians going to Babylon the Great. So these different individuals are now coming together. That whole area over there, the Palestinians, Yemen, Houthis, Iran, they are coming together, and they're obviously going to come against Babylon the Great because America, Babylon the Great, is coming against them with Israel. It says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. So no matter what your military experts say, or whatever the case may be, Iran is going to lose, whatever the case may be, the scriptures tell us here. It says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled and keep silence through their power and shall flee. See, so America will run away and flee from Iran, right? And even now they're talking about who blinked first. Now they're talking and they say Trump blinked first, because even Trump don't want this. He's talking about a deal, right? He ain't just go out and go to war. They're trying to do a deal, instead of just going ahead and doing what they're going to do. So this is Bible prophecy unfolding right before our eyes, right? And we're just going into it, letting you know the times that you're living in and what's to come, to prepare yourself for the return of our Lord. The scriptures say when these things begin to happen, draw near, then look up, because your redemption draweth nigh. So that's the spirit we're in, right? This is the hopeful year of the deliverance of Jacob and the destruction and judgment of Esau, Edom, right? 2025. It says, and from the land of the Syrian shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them. And in their hosts shall be fear, dread, and strife among their kings. Right. So, this is talking about a besiege. You have individuals, sleeper cells and things like that already in Iran. Already here in America, Let me grab this. It says, behold, clouds. So this is verse 34. It says, behold, and once again, it says, and in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. So once again, the fearfulness of Babylon the Great in these last days. It says, behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. Right, and this is going into a army. Let me grab Ezekiel 38 real quick. 9. All right, this is Ezekiel 38 9. Precept here. It says, "Thou shalt ascend and come." Let me see. Matter of fact, I'll start at 8. And this is perfect actually, because this is the army, which is going to be led by the chief of let me see, the chief prince, which is Russia. I'll grab verse 3. This is Ezekiel 38 and 3. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Who is Gog and Magog? That's Russia. And Russia is going to be joined with Iran to come against Babylon the Great. And even now, they're having talks about Iran having nuclear weapons, right? And guess what? The mediator between these talks is Russia, because Iran doesn't want direct talks with Babylon the Great. So they said, we're going to give you a mediator. So this is the first talks, kind of like what's happening in Ukraine. They're talking, whatever the case may be, but it's not really amounting to nothing. So that's what's happening here. We're just watching the game that's being played. So right now they're talking with Russia against Iran, and Russia and Iran have a strategic partnership, and Russia has a mini nukes. All right. So anyway, verse 9, or start at verse 8. Start at 7. Ezekiel 38 and 7, it says, "Be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." So Russia, in this case, also is being a guard unto Iran still, right? This is the first, sit down they're having about this nuclear problem that Trump has, and Russia is being a guard unto Iran even now in this case. It says, verse 8, "After many days thou shalt be visited, and in the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many nations against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them." I'll grab this NLT. It says, "A long time from now, you will be called into action." So this is talking about Russia and everyone joined to Russia, right? So you look around in the world and you can see who's joined to Russia, whatever the case may be. And this video was posted like 19 minutes ago. When I started, it said 58 minutes. 58 seconds, so it's fresh. It says, "A long time from now, you will be called into action. In the distant future, you will swoop down on the land of Israel." See, so, this was prophesied, between 2005, 2,000 years ago, whatever the case may be. It says, "In the distant future, you will swoop down on the land of Israel." So now we're in that time. Habakkuk 2 says, "Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come." And we're in that time where we're witnessing this. Where do these devils go from here? Second Thessalonians or First Thessalonians 5:3 say, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction come upon them. Right? Job 18 says, "Terrors shall take hold of them on every side." And that's where they are right now. Ezekiel 38 and 8 says, "A long time from now, you will be called into action. In the distant future, you will swoop down on the land of Israel, which will be enjoying peace after recovering from war, and after its people have returned from many lands to the mountains of Israel." Right? So Israel is constant in war and peace stance. Where they do a ceasefire, they're chilling, then they go back to war. Right? Because why? That guy, Benjamin Netanyahu, not a Jew at all, is there, and he's a war criminal. The world hates Israel. Right? They got this thing now talking about anti-Semitic, whatever the case may be. So the whole world is anti-Semitic right now, whatever the case may be, because they're all denying the credibility of that guy, Benjamin Netanyahu, in the state of Israel, which was brought forth through the Balfour Declaration, right? So that's Russia going against Israel right there in NLT. Verse 9 says, "Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee." See, so this cloud that they're talking about here is the army. So going back over here to verse 34 says, this is 2nd Ezra 15 and 34. "Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm." So this is Russia, Iran, China, and everybody else joined with Russia, right? It says, "They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth." These stars are talking about these nuclear missiles. All right, let me grab some of this right here. This is Revelations 8. Revelations 8 and 10 says, And then, I'm sorry, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of water. Right, this star is talking about a nuclear missile. Let me grab this, Revelation 6 and 13. It says, and I'll start at 12, the sixth seal, terror. Right, in the description, Job said he will save us out of six trouble, yeah, and seven, no evil shall touch thee, because what? The seven is basically it's over. It's over. The nuclear missiles have touched down, you know. It says, verse 12, Revelation 6 and 12, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. See, so those stars are nuclear missiles that will hit the earth, pelt the earth, you know, like figs falling from a tree. Isaiah 24 says the earth shall roll to and fro like a drunkard, right? The nuclear missiles are going to cause a great earthquake. All right. So verse 35 again in 2nd Ezra 15 and 35, it says, they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star. That's the point right there. It says even their own star. So where we started at 28, it said, the dragons of Arabia, it says, so this is saying that they will have their own star. I'll read it again. 2nd Ezra 15 and 35. So the fear that Trump is talking about of not Iran not having nuclear missiles, they're going to have it. It says, they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star. And blood shall be from the sword unto the belly, right? So it's going to be a lot of death and destruction and waste because of these nuclear missiles and the brute of the army, because it said they will besiege, take portions. Even, let me grab this. So, let me grab this scripture. Bear with me. All right, so let me grab this. Let me see. Shall we? All right, Shalakia, I don't have it. Anybody listening, you can throw it on the comment board, or I might throw it on the comment board when I grab it. All right. Or I'll probably look for it a little bit later. So verse 35 again, it says, they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star. And behold, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly, right? And dung of men unto the camel's hue, right? So there's a lot of dead bodies upon bodies, right? It says, and there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. Let me grab Luke 21. Luke 21. All right, it says in the subtitle heading there, the return of Yahweh Shai. I started at 25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun, and the moon, and the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Right, men's hearts filling them for fear and men's heart filling them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. It says, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. All right. Let me see if I can find this. I usually can find it so easy on Google here, but let me see. I believe it's let me see Revelation 11 real quick. I doubt that's it though. Oh, I found it. All right, Jeremiah 51. Because this is going back to that a lot of destruction, right? And then I said the besieging part. So let me see if I can find this in Jeremiah 51 somewhere. Yep, we got it right here. This is Jeremiah 51 and 30. I know I read it recently too in one of the videos. Anyway, Jeremiah 51 and 30. It says, the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might have failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. It says, one post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end, and that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. Right. It says, for thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the power of Israel, the daughter of Babylon, is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. See, that's the time we in, right? Where Babylon the Great is about to be threshed through, right? And a part of their city is going to be taken by these Iranians, right? Carmenians, the dragons of Arabia, they coming through, right? That's why it's going to be a lot of death. So verse 37, 2nd Ezra 15:37, it says, and there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. And then shall there come great storms from the south and from the north, and another part from the west, right? More armies. You got Joel 2. Let me grab this. All right, so no, I'm not gonna grab that. All right, so verse 38, it says, and then shall there come great storms from the south and from the north, and another part from the west, armies, right? And strong wind shall arise from the east and shall open it, and the clouds which he raised up in wrath, and the star stirred to cause fear toward the east, and west wind shall be destroyed. Right, so basically that can go into armies from the west, which can go into America. So I grabbed the Joel 2 and 20. It says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. Right? So Babylon the Great has done great things, and the Most High Yahweh Bashim is bringing them over there to that area, right, to the Middle East, where Iran is at, right? And that's where they're having these talks now. But ultimately, they will be destroyed. It says the great and mighty clouds shall be lifted up full of wrath. So this is talking about armies, right? It says the great and mighty clouds shall be lifted up full of wrath, and the star that they may make all the earth afraid, and them that dwell therein. And they shall pour out over every high and eminent place and a horrible star. So these goes to the nukes. So these Irans will have the nukes, right? These nations will shoot nukes at each other, right? And it says it's going to pour out every high and eminent place. That goes into your Washington, D.C.'s, probably, New York or something, Miami. It says, verse 41, fire and hail and flying swords and many waters, that all fields may be full, and all rivers with abundance of great waters, right? So this once again is going into the fact that these nukes will be hitting and they'll fill everywhere. The scriptures say that Babylon will be utterly destroyed, a complete waste, right? Nothing left of it. Let me grab the All right. So verse 42 says, and they shall break down the cities and walls, mountains and hills, trees of the wood and grass of the meadows and their corn. Slaki, it says, so I'm at verse 43 now. It says, and they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid. So they're gonna go all the way up to Babylon, right? These nukes and these armies. It says they shall come to her and besiege her. The star and all wrath shall they pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and smoke go up unto their heaven, and all they that be about her shall bewail her, right? And that's going to what? Even now, Trump is doing these terrorists, right? So, the nations are going to mourn Babylon the Great because, all the money, all the money is gone. The bread basket of the world is gone. This is Revelation 6 and 14. This is Revelation 6 and 14. It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it's rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, right? Because why? The nukes are going to fly once Yahushua returns, right? And Yahushua is coming to destroy these kings, right? And all their servants that they have unto them, any agents, different individuals working for these banking elites, and things like that. So once again, that's going into those nuclear missiles hitting, It says, and this is 2nd Ezra 15 and 45, and they that remain under her shall do service unto them that have put her in fear. And thou, so pretty much, let me see. Let me just grab I'll start at 61. Are we going to jump down to 61? This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 61. It says, and thou shalt be cast down by them as stubble, and they shall be unto thee as fire, and shall consume thee and thy cities, thy land and thy mountains, all thy woods and thy faithful trees shall they burn up with fire. It says, thy children shall they carry away captive, and look what thou hast, they shall spoil it and mar the beauty of thy face. Right? So Babylon the Great will be utterly obliterated and destroyed, right? So with that, I'll say shalom to those elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.